Hi everyone, this is Queer Joe, and today I want to go through a brief tutorial on my method for making the interlocking crochet scarf that you might have seen on my blog. The scarf is a really great scarf because it's got a couple things going for it. One is it's very open and drapey, so to a large degree it's a nice loose but still yet warm scarf, and it allows you to use up a lot of your the ends from your sock yarns. This is made in all sock yarn. It's made with an F-size crochet hook, and it's basically a really simple technique that I found a picture of out on Pinterest, and so I wanted to show you kind of how I did it, which is slightly differently than they suggest on Pinterest. So basically, if you take a closer look at the structure of the interlocking crochet scarf and the fabric that it's created by, it's basically stripes of 2 rows of crochet, one base chain row, and then a row of chain 4, and then half double crochet 4 times into the next 4 spaces. So any of you that have done crochet before will kind of understand that intuitively. And then the space created by the 4 chains on each side is interlocked with the next chain in the different color, and that continuously goes on. So let me show you a little bit about how they suggest you do it on the Pinterest website and how I'm going to suggest that you do it. First of all, again, like I said, basically all you're doing is creating a base chain row, and then on top of that you're doing 4 half double crochets, and then skipping 4 to create this 4 chain space, and then again 4 half double crochets, 4 spaces, and so you've got a continuous row of, and this is one color row of the actual interlocking scarf. And then when you create your second one, what you're basically going to want to do is take this little this little space here of chains right there, can you see that very well, and interlock it into the row below it, and do that for all the various spaces across. The nice part about this is you create the entire long chain, so the length of the first striped row that you create is actually going to be the final length of your scarf as well. So you can use that as a really good gauge swatch to determine and make this scarf exactly how you want it. And basically all you're doing is creating a multiple of, well, actually you're creating a multiple of 8 stitches plus 4 at the end, plus 2 additional ones for your original turn to create the first block of 4 double half crochets. So anyway, I'm going to start with, I've already created the first stripe row with this one, and then take it from there. And then I started to create the second one, but I'm going to undo back to the original chain. So in the pattern it'll tell you how many chains that I actually chain stitched 414 chain stitches for the first row, and then doubled back on itself, and the third stitch from the needle I did a turn, and I did 4 half double crochets into that space, and then I chain 4. Now what they suggest that you do in the Pinterest version is you take this big long chain that you've just done and you weave it in and out of the holes in preparation for interlocking them, and then you start doing your double crochets or your half double crochets, the 4 at a time, to create the blocks on top of that. The problem that I had with that was when it was interwoven in and out through the holes like that first, I couldn't count 4 stitches very easily. And so when I was looking for the 5th stitch from my crochet hook, I couldn't find that very easily. So this is how I ended up doing it, and if it's useful, great, use it. And if you can easily find the 4th stitch, great, use that as well. That's just as easy. So here's what I've done. I've done this huge chain of 414 stitches of chain stitches, And then I created these 4 half double crochets along here, and then I've chained 4 more. So then I'm going to look down on my base chain, and I'm going to skip 4 stitches along that. So I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3, 4, and half double crochet. I would normally half double crochet into the 5th stitch from the hook, which is right here. Sorry, I'm not very fast at crocheting. But what I do instead is I actually elongate that stitch, and I actually make a little loop so that I can identify where that stitch is, and then I actually push it through the first hole on the first row. So I'm going to look for the first hole on the first row of my first row of chain. I'm going to take the little loop that I've pulled up there, and I'm going to pull it through from the back to the front. Oops, I got the wrong one, sorry. So I'm going to prepare as if I'm going to half double crochet, and then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and go into the 5th, elongate that stitch, pull it through, and then finish my half double crochet from there. Okay? So now I've identified the 4th stitch or the 5th stitch for my hook at that point, and it made it easier to find. And then I'm going to do the additional 3 more half double crochets in each of the next 4 chain stitches. See, I told you I'm not very fast at crochet. Now, if my friend Kathy were here, she'd have this thing banged out in no time. So I've got my 4 half double crochets, and then I'm going to pull the chain stitch, the whole long line of chain stitches all the way through that hole. And then I'm going to repeat that again. So again, now I've got the first interlocking piece done on my scarf. You can see where it's interlocked in there, right? And secured in. So now I'm going to show that one more time. So I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to skip 4 chains on my base row, 1, 2, 3, 4. Insert my hook into the 5th chain stitch, elongate that stitch, so I just pull up with my hook while I pull down on the chain base row. Then I'm going to pinch that loop that I've created, that elongated loop, and I'm going to push it through the next hole in my first row, my first 2 rows of the first color. And then I'm going to insert my hook. Oops, I lost my yarn over, so I have to take my hook out. But I'm going to yarn over, insert it through that elongated loop, pull it through, and finish off my half double crochet. Then I'm going to do 3 more half double crochets. That's 2. 3. And 4. God, that was long, sorry. And then again, I'm going to pull the chain all the way through that loop. Now as you get further towards the end of your scarf in this particular row, pulling through that chain stitch gets shorter and shorter because you're obviously using up more and more of that chain, right? So I'm going to do it one more time, okay? Great. Chain 1, 2, 3, 4, skip 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, insert my hook into the 5th, elongate it, pull it up, take my hook back out, take that loop and loop it through the next hole in the silk yarn before it. Insert my hook into that elongated loop, pull it through, and finish off my half double crochet. Okay? And then I'm going to do 3 more half double crochets into the next 3 chains. 1, God, I'm terrible at this. It's amazing I finished that scarf. Sorry, this stitch is a little bit tight. And one of the things, when you elongate that stitch, it doesn't matter much, because the minute you go into the next, you work into the next chain stitch, it evens out that elongation, and so it kind of pulls it back in and looks like you've never done anything to it. So if you take a close look at that elongated loop, it's actually right here. That's where the elongated loop, oops, covering that over with my finger. It's right there where the elongated loop is, and you can't even see that it's different than any of the other loops into which I've created my half double crochets. So you'll see that it doesn't have any effect, and then again, once I'm done with the fourth half double crochet, I pull my chain all the way through and I continue on after that. And so eventually, you can see the result of what I have so far. I've interlocked three loops into loops and interlocked those chains, and that's basically how I continue to do that. And the entire scarf is made up of a total of, I forget how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. In my case, in this particular case, 17 rows of different striped colored sock yarns. And the nice part is you can intermix variegated colored yarns, bright colored yarns. I like to stick with somewhat of a more somber colorway when I'm doing mine, because it looks a little bit more masculine in my opinion. But again, it gives you a really nice drapey fabric, and it really has a lot of texture and a lot of shows off the color well. I'm actually planning on making another one of these scarves using Koigu KPPM yarns to do that, because I think mixing up a bunch of different variegated color yarns will look really nice, and it'll blend really nicely in this kind of fabric. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me at queerjoe@comcast.net. That's queerjoe@comcast.net, and I'd be more than happy to help you out with any questions. Thanks.